Palm Beach County is now in session. The Honorable Judge Weiss presiding. God save the state in this honorable court.
Good afternoon. Please be seated.
Good afternoon.
Welcome. All right, can I have counsels of record please stand and announce themselves. Announce their full names for the court record, please. State.
Julia Cathcart.
Julia Cathcart. Thank you.
Maggie Pierce.
Maggie
Pierce.
Pierce. Thank you. And you represent?
The state.
Thank you.
Ron Gator.
Luciano Antonacci. Lou Gifford.
Anna Pratt. Barbara Barrett.
Thank you. Are the parties ready to begin? Any matters before we begin? All right. Does the state wish to give an opening statement?
May I please report? Good evening, Your Honor, ladies and gentlemen of the jury. My name is Julia Cathcart, and it is my privilege to represent the state of South Carolina in this case before you today. It was the night of December 18th, 1988. John Marco Barrett, now dead, came home from work very late. His wife, Barbara, was upset that he had come home late and Barbara Barrett, the Barrett's housekeeper, Lee Porter, served them dinner, and Mr. Barrett informed Mrs. Barrett that their marriage was no longer working and that he wanted a divorce. Mrs. Barrett then cried and sobbed, but she secretly knew that this was the perfect opportunity to seek revenge for all the times that Mr. Barrett had cheated on her. Then tragedy struck. Mrs. Barrett pulled out a gun and shot at Mr. Barrett, not once, not twice, but 6 times. This alone shows the anger that had been built up in Barbara's heart. Ladies and gentlemen, this is not a whodunit case. Everything about this case points to the horrifying truth that a wife, Barbara Barrett, murdered her husband after almost 10 years living together. Ladies and gentlemen, Miss Barrett's children, they came home late from school to find that their mother had not only divorced their first father, but murdered the second one as well. We as the prosecution want you to render Barbara Barrett guilty, but not for the sake of winning this trial, for the sake of her children, her brutally murdered husband, and for the safety of their beloved town in Haydenfield, South Carolina. Now, there will be 3 witnesses this evening to help me prove my case. The first will be Officer Cheney, who arrives at the scene of the crime. The second will be Lee Porter, who was there at the time of the murder. And the third will be Joe May, a pathologist to examine the deceased. With these 3 witnesses, we will be able to prove our case to you this evening. I want to thank you all for being here this evening. And thank you, and please help me bring back memory to this man. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Cathcart. Does the defense wish to give an opening statement?
May I please support?
Yes, sir.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the jury. My name is Lou Gifford, and I'm the leading attorney for the defense. We are gathered here today on behalf of Barbara Allen Barrett, who is accused of murdering her husband. You will hear from the prosecution today as well, and they're going to say many exaggerated things about Miss Barrett. They will downplay the validity of They're going to downplay the validity of battered woman syndrome and just how devastating it can be to a wife who finds herself caught in an abusive marriage. They are also going to try to discredit our expert witness, psychologist, Dana McGuire. We intend to prove that Miss Barrett is not guilty of murdering her husband on the grounds of battered woman syndrome. My team and I will prove that Miss Barrett does in fact suffer from battered woman syndrome, and therefore she should not be held responsible for her own actions on the night of December 18th, 1988. Additionally, the defense will show that the Barrett's housekeeper, Lee Porter's testimony is unreliable. We will also put into question whether or not the reading of Miss Barrett's Miranda rights were read by the arresting officer, C.M. Cheney. I submit to the members of the jury that this case is much like a metal chain. In a metal chain, all links must stay solid for it to provide its strength. When one link breaks or goes missing, it all falls apart. Thank you.
Thank you, counsel. State, call your first witness, please.
Your Honor, the prosecution would like to call Officer C. and Cheney to the stand.
Officer Cheney, bailiff, can you bring him in? Is it he or she? Please bring him in.
Please raise your right hand. Do you affirm that the evidence you shall give to this court and jury shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Please have a seat in the witness chair.
May it please the court?
Go ahead.
Please state your name and age for the court.
C.M. Cheney.
And please tell us about the education that qualifies you as a police officer.
I graduated from South Bend College in Haddonfield, South Carolina, with a degree in criminal justice.
At what police department do you currently work?
Milton County Police Department.
And what are your regular hours of duty at the police department?
4 o'clock p.m. through 12 o'clock a.m. Tuesday through Saturday.
Why were you working on Sunday, December 18th, 1988, if you usually work only Tuesdays through Saturdays?
We were short-staffed, so I was filling in for my friend.
And please tell us about any other jobs that you work.
I work as a security officer at a bank during my off hours.
What other experience do you have in investigating the scene of a homicide?
I've investigated 7 scenes of homicide.
All right. Where were you when you received a call to make the scene of a shooting at 2437 Rambling Woods Drive?
Oh, just patrolling my regular routes.
Please describe your observations and actions at the scene of the crime.
When I pulled up to the house, the reportee identified himself as Lee Porter. He then showed me the body of what appeared to be a deceased male. I then located the suspect who had locked herself in a downstairs bathroom.
All right. Please describe your conversations with Barbara Barrett that you had prior to taking her into custody.
She kept saying, "I love John, why did I have to hurt him?"
All right. Thank you. No further questions, Your Honor.
Cross.
Your Honor, may it please the court?
How long have you been working for the Barretts? How long have you been working with the police department?
7 years.
What is your occupation?
Could you please restate the question?
Where are you assigned at the department?
The Radio Patrol Division.
Your partner was out sick, correct?
Yes.
Where were you the night of December 18th, 1988?
Patrolling my regular routes.
How long did it take you to arrive at the Barrett's house?
7 minutes.
What have you been trained to do as a police officer?
Take measurements of all physical proximities and question witnesses prior to being taken into custody.
You found the gun next to the deceased body, correct?
Yes.
Did you find anything else next to the deceased body?
A letter, yes.
Your Honor, I would like to enter into evidence Exhibit B, the Tootsie letter.
Have you shown it to the state?
Not yet.
Why don't you show it to the state first? Are you moving this document into evidence at this time?
Yes, Your Honor.
Any objection?
No, Your Honor.
All right, so admitted without objection. You want to show it to the witness? Okay.
Can you please read the first 3 sentences of that letter?
You will never know how much your love means to me. The first time I saw you in court, I knew I could not live without you. All these years being married to Barbara have been a living hell for me.
Thank you. What did you do next
After
after you found the letter?
removed it and tagged it as evidence,
What did you do after that?
arrested Barbara Barrett and took her into custody.
Where did you find Barbara Barrett?
She had locked herself in a downstairs bathroom.
What was her mental state of mind?
She was crying, sobbing.
Did you Mirandize Miss Barrett?
Yes, I believe so.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Redirect?
No, Your Honor.
Is this witness excused?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, Bill, if you can take the witness out and state, call your next witness, please.
Your Honor, I'd like to call Lee Porter for this witness stand.
All right. Lee Porter?
May I please report? Please raise your hand. Do you affirm that the evidence you shall give to this court and jury shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Please state your name and age for the court.
My name is Lee Porter and I'm 47 years old.
How long had you been working for the Barretts on December 18th, 1988?
About 6 months.
Please describe the events of the night of December 18th, 1988.
Mr. Barrett came home around 9 p.m. Mrs. Barrett was walking around complaining about how he was always late. When they both came in to eat, Mr. Barrett said that he wanted a divorce and he was going to leave that night. Mrs. Barrett said he couldn't do this to her. When Mr. Barrett got up to leave, Mrs. Barrett said that he would be sorry. The next thing I knew, I heard 3 loud noises and they sounded like a car backfiring. Mr. Barrett came limping into the dining room. He was bloody, scared, and had a note in his hand. Mrs. Barrett came out with a large gun. Once I saw the large gun, I ran to the kitchen and outside.
Did you ever see Mrs. Barrett being beaten by John Marco Barrett or see any bruises on her?
No.
Where were you for those 10 minutes you were gone before the police officer arrived?
I ran to a neighbor's house to call the police.
What did you hear in the backyard the day of the shooting?
I heard some loud noises and they sounded like a car backfiring.
What did you hear Mrs. Barrett screaming from the downstairs bathroom after the shooting?
She said that she loved Mr. Barrett and didn't mean to hurt him.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Ross?
May it please the court, Your Honor?
Did you see Mrs. Barrett fire a gun at any time?
No.
Is it true that Mr. Barrett had a bad temper?
Yes.
Did he ever throw objects?
Yes.
Did he verbalize threats?
Yes.
You have heard Mrs. Barrett scream before, correct?
Yes.
After the Barretts left the table, did you see anything prior to the shots being fired?
No.
So you did not see Mr. Barrett with a belt?
No.
And you did not see Mrs. Barrett discharge the weapon?
No.
So can you tell us anything important that happened on that night that you saw?
No.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Redirect?
No, Your Honor.
This witness is excused. State, call your next witness.
Your Honor, I'd like to call Joe May to the stand. Please raise your hand. Do you affirm that the evidence you shall give to this court and jury shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
May it please the court?
Please state your name and age for the court.
My name is Josephine Rachel May, and I am 43 years old.
Where do you work?
I work at the Haddonfield General Hospital
How long have you been a pathologist?
for 21 years
Where did you receive your education?
at the West Indies Medical School.
What was the deceased wearing?
He was wearing a white button-down shirt. He was blue-gray dress pants, black wingtip shoes, a tie, and black socks.
How many bullet wounds were there, and where did they enter the deceased?
There were 5 bullet wounds. The first one entered the upper portion of the left arm and went all the way through. The second one entered the upper portion of the right leg and went all the way through. The third and fourth were just to the right of the spine. And the fifth and fatal shot was to the posterior portion of the cranium.
About what distance was the gun fired from the deceased?
More than 2 feet.
What can you tell us about the angles from which the bullets entered the body, and what this has to do with where he was when he died?
The ones in his back and to the back of his head were shot from a 45-degree angle from a horizontal plane, which means the suspect was, or the deceased was most likely laying on the floor when he was shot.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Thank you. Cross?
Your Honor, may it please the court? When did you perform the autopsy?
The night of the murder,
Who authorized the autopsy?
I don't remember.
How many bullet wounds are there?
There are 5 bullet wounds.
The shot to the head was the cause of death, correct?
Correct.
The last shot was to the head, correct?
We do not know the order in which the bullets were fired.
Are you aware that when you labeled the entrance wounds, you skipped entrance wound number 3?
Well, we aren't able to, one was shot at and hit the wall.
Your Honor, I would like to enter into evidence Joe R. May's witness statement.
Any objection from the state? And state, have you reviewed this document already?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. It will be admitted without any objection from the state.
Now, you said that the third shot that was not there was the shot that hit the wall, correct?
I believe so.
Can you please read at the bottom where it says,
It is not possible to determine in which order the shots were fired.
thank you. How many exit wounds are there?
There are 2 exit wounds.
How many bullets were entered into evidence?
One fragment, which was found in the back of the head.
Thank you. No further questions, Your Honor.
Can you read your act of this witness?
No, Your Honor.
The witness is excused. Does the state have any other witnesses at this time?
No, Your Honor.
Does the state rest?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Defense.
Your Honor, we would like to call up Dan McGuire.
Do you affirm that the evidence you shall give to this court and jury shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Your Honor, may it please the court? Can you please introduce yourself to the court?
My name is Dana McGuire.
What is your occupation?
I am a practicing psychologist in my own business.
What is your qualification?
I received my BA from Campbell State University and received my with highest honors, and I got my master's degree in psychology.
What is your experience as a psychologist?
I deal mainly with battered women syndrome and have heard over 500 different cases of BWS and have interviewed with 300 different women about the cases.
Can you please explain battered women syndrome to us?
Battered woman syndrome is a three-phase process that the battered couple goes through together. The first phase is the minor verbal and physical stage, in which the couple enters some verbal interactions and sometimes some physical interactions. The second is the acute battering phase, in which the couple enters some more physical interactions. In this phase can last between several hours to a couple of days. And the third phase is the loving and contrite phase, and where the battering man believes he taught the woman a lesson and gives her false hope that he still loves her.
Do you believe Barbara is a battered woman?
I do believe Barbara Barrett has suffered from all three phases of BWS.
When was the first time you met with Barbara?
I met with Barbara Barrett 3 times within a month of the death of her husband, the earliest being 2 weeks.
How severe was Barbara's BWS?
Her case was extreme, but not uncommon in battered woman syndrome circles.
Can you please explain why these women stay in relationships with their husbands?
These women stay in these relationships because they have no legal or economic choice. Also, these women stay in these relationships because they believe if they leave their husbands, they have completely failed at life.
How does BWS usually end between couples?
BWS usually ends when the couple divorces or one of the two die.
Why do you believe Miss Barrett shot Mr. Barrett?
She has been building up a chain of fury that has been developed for many, many years from the hands of her husband, John. All this time she has felt she has been betrayed by her husband. And what the final betrayal for her is when John Walker Barrett told her that he was leaving. And she could not control her actions. Her actions were not controllable, just like the sunset coming up. So she could not control her actions, and she shot the gun.
In your witness statement, you referred to an experiment where dogs are in a cage. Would you please explain the significance about this story?
Scientists and doctors did this experiment to relate this to BWS. What they did is they put a couple of dogs in the cage and gave them minor electric shocks. And the dogs tried to leave the first couple of times, but once they realized it was impossible to leave, they stayed where they are. And even when the doors were open, the dogs stayed where they are because they were afraid of being shocked again. This is like BWS. Women try to leave these relationships the first couple of times by running away, but after they realize they cannot be stopped by their husbands, they try to stay in where they are and keep going through the battering phases.
No, thank you. No further questions, Your Honor.
Cross.
May I please report, Your Honor? You first met with Barbara Allen Barrett after she killed her husband, is this correct?
Yes.
And you were not present during any of the batterings or beatings, is this right?
No, I was not.
All right. Could you please, again, briefly describe that experiment you were just talking about, that Dr. Samuel Michaels did about the theory of learned helplessness?
They described it as women trying to leave these relationships but not leaving because they could not leave from the force and power of their husband's hands.
Okay. And you claimed that the reason Barbara Barrett was staying in this relationship was because she was in a state of learned helplessness, right?
Yes.
Now, did the dogs in this experiment, this learned helplessness experiment, ever try to attack Dr. Samuel Michaels or whatever was giving them the shocks?
No, they did not. They could not. They were inside of a cage.
But they never tried any assault or fury.
That is beyond my scope of knowledge in my witness statement.
You are saying that once the dogs entered into the state of learned helplessness, did they pretty much remain in the state of learned helplessness?
They stayed in this state of learned helplessness not for the rest of their lives, but after they realized, and it took them a while to realize that the shocks would not come anymore.
Okay, you feel that this experiment demonstrates a battered woman's state of learned helplessness.
Yes, I do.
You are claiming that even though Barbara Barrett was in a state of learned helplessness, when her husband told her he was leaving, it unleashed a floodgate of fear inside her, and she brought her marriage to a tragic end.
Yes.
Thank you. No further questions, Your Honor.
Anything further of this witness, defense?
No, Your Honor.
All right, you're excused. The court's thanks. Call your next witness, please, defense.
Your Honor, we would like to call Barbara Allen Barrett to the witness stand.
All right.
Do you affirm that the evidence you shall give to this court and jury shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Your Honor, may it please the court?
Okay.
Please state your name.
Barbara Allen Barrett.
Where were you the night of December 18th?
I was at my house.
Please tell us the events of this night.
John came home late and he told me he wanted a divorce, and we were arguing over dinner, and I must have been crying a lot because he told me to leave the room, and he followed me into the living room with the belt in his hands, and I thought he was going to choke and kill me.
Did Mr. Barrett beat you any time prior to his death?
Yes.
At any one of these batterings did you seek medical attention?
Yes.
When did Mr. Barrett batter you last prior to the night of December 18th?
2 nights before.
Please tell us what happened.
He beat me with a belt.
Is it true that C.M. Cheney asked you if you were threatened that night?
Yes.
What did you say?
I said that I did not feel threatened
Why did you say that?
because my husband just died and I didn't know what I was thinking.
So, when he took off his belt that night, did you feel threatened?
Yes.
Were you afraid that your husband was going to repeat the prior beating?
Yes.
Were you afraid that he was going to kill you?
Yes.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Cross-examination.
May it please the court?
Officer Cheney asked you if you would like to give your statement, is that correct?
Yes.
And you agreed to give your statement?
Yes.
You had a gun near you or next to you before you shot him, is that correct?
Yes.
When you stayed in the house after the beatings, you had your housekeeper bring you meals in the bedroom, correct?
Yes.
You are aware of your husband's relationship with another woman, is that correct?
Yes.
You are aware or were made aware of your husband's relationship with another woman on the night of the shooting?
Yes.
Do you know why he wanted a divorce?
No.
Your Honor, I would like to enter into evidence Exhibit F and Exhibit G, which is Barbara Barrett's statement and her confession.
All right, I presume defense has had an opportunity to review these. Any objection?
No, Your Honor.
All right. Go ahead, Steve.
If you would please read from the last paragraph, the second sentence.
From which one?
From the confession.
The first paragraph?
Last paragraph, second sentence.
He told me he wanted a divorce and he wanted to marry someone else.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Anything further of this witness? Okay, you can have a seat back at council table. Vince, do you have any other witnesses? Who is the
Yes, sir.
Okay. We will then proceed to closings unless there are any other matters to address before closing argument. Who's going to give the closing from the state?
Madam Pierce,
All right, Ms. Pierce? Go ahead.
may I please report? The defense is claiming that the reason Barbara Barrett should be allowed to get off scot-free for this crime is because she had battered woman syndrome, that she was mentally ill, that she didn't know what she was doing, that she'd been beaten by her husband for years. However, they have failed to prove that this is true. Members of the jury, ladies and gentlemen, the only proof that we have that Barbara Barrett was a battered woman is her word. That's it. We do not have here any medical records of the times that she went to the hospital for the beatings, though the defense says that she did. And there is no friend and no neighbor, no relative that the defense could produce that will testify to having heard anything about these beatings of Barbara Barrett. And the only person who was there, Lee Porter, and who the defendant says had she said she had the housekeeper bring her meals in the bedroom. Lee Porter didn't see any bruises. He never saw her getting beaten. And you'd think if the defendant was basically bedridden because of these beatings that Lee Porter would have seen something, anything, like a black eye or a bruise, but no. And then there's the fact that Barbara Barrett's state of learned helplessness that supposedly all battered women are in does not match up with the experiments that have been done about learned helplessness. Those who are in a state of learned helplessness do not unleash a floodgate of fury and attack their batterer. And isn't it convenient, ladies and gentlemen, that the first time Barbara Barrett is publicly claiming to be a battered woman is after she's accused of murdering her husband? Members of the jury, this is what it all comes down to. In order to believe that Barbara Barrett was ever beaten or battered by her late husband, you have to believe her, because there is no other evidence. All right. Now, remember that the defense's case is an aim to prove that Barbara Barrett was mentally ill at the time she shot him. And when they are trying to prove this in the state of South Carolina, the burden of proof is on the defense to prove her insanity beyond a reasonable doubt. And luckily, in the state of South Carolina, there is a very simple way that we tell whether or not the defendant is insane and mentally ill. A defendant can be found not guilty by reason of insanity if and only if, at the time of the crime, they either didn't know what they were doing or they didn't know what they were doing was morally or legally wrong. A popular example of this is a man who murdered his wife and his daughter and then waited calmly for the police to arrive. He was found not guilty. He was found to be mentally ill and not guilty, therefore, because he was obviously unaware that he was going to be prosecuted for his crime, and in other words, he was unaware that what he was doing was legally wrong. But, members of the jury, I am very sure that Barbara Barrett knew what she was doing was wrong. What mentally insane person who didn't know what she was doing or that what she was doing was wrong would spend all of the time after she killed him in a downstairs bathroom in hysterics and screaming that she didn't mean to hurt him? What mentally insane person would know exactly what she did and say she didn't mean to do it? Like again when she told Officer C.M. Cheney shortly after the crime, "I didn't mean to hurt John." Ladies and gentlemen, in order to find Barbara Barrett not guilty by reason of battered women's syndrome, you have to believe the following. First, you have to believe that she was a battered woman. And the only evidence for this, as we said, is her testimony. And second, you have to believe that she was in a state of learned helplessness. As Dana McGuire says, all battered women are in. And this would explain why she couldn't have left. She couldn't have gone to someone, anyone, to escape her husband. But as you have seen from Dana McGuire's cross-examination, those who are in a state of learned helplessness do not fly into a rage and unleash a floodgate of fury and attack their batterer. It just doesn't happen. And of course, 3, you must believe that she was mentally ill. So, has the defense done their job? Have they proven to you, like they're required by law to, that Barbara Allen Barrett was insane and had battered women's syndrome beyond a reasonable doubt? No. Then why did she kill her husband? Barbara Barrett says herself that she was aware that there was another woman John wanted to marry. She'd seen him cheating on her. There was even a letter from him to his paramour. The reason Miss Barrett killed her husband is because she knew that he was going to leave her for another woman. She killed him because she wanted revenge. And she killed him because she thought that if she couldn't have him, no one could. Thank you.
Does the defense wish to give a closing argument?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, sir.
May I please report?
Certainly.
Your Honor, members of the jury, counsel, and all that who have gathered here today, Barbara Barrett is not guilty as charged. It is for many years, my client has been living in a nightmare that no person should have endured. Let's talk about this case. Barbara Barrett entered a marriage to John picturing love and friendship, but instead she committed herself with the monster. For many years, John Barrett abused Barbara both mentally and physically, causing Barbara to become a victim of battered woman syndrome and insanity. According to physiologist Dana McGuire, who we've heard from today, the violence Miss Barrett suffered was so severe it made her insane and would have prohibited her from ever breaking free of the abusive marriage. Year after year, month after month, Mr. Barrett would apologize to Barbara and then abuse her again and again. He gave her false hope that their marriage would improve. As we heard from Ms. McGuire, women in this situation are rarely able to escape this abuse. They are helpless, like Mrs. Barrett. When her husband informed her he was leaving her, Barbara experienced an explosion of tremendous fear of loss that was building up for years. She saw this as the ultimate betrayal. She finally viewed her husband as a man capable of killing her. Let me give you a scenario. When a police officer or bodyguard sees someone reaching into their pocket for something, their immediate instinct is to reach for their holster. This responsive action is parallel to Miss Barrett's reaction on the night that BWS fully manifested in her. When he was walking towards her with his belt clutched in his hand, she recalled all of the abuse she had bore. Her first thought was, he is going to kill me now. Mrs. Barrett headed towards the gun. The result was catastrophic, much like the relationship. As the prosecution has pointed out, it is up to the state of Florida to prove beyond any reasonable doubt that my client purposely murdered John Barrett in cold blood. It is clear tonight, though, through all the testimonies, however, that the state has not met their burden of proof. Miss Barrett did pull the trigger of the gun that killed her husband, but she is a victim of insanity, and she is not guilty of intentionally murdering him. She was protecting herself. She suffers from bad woman syndrome and requires help from a psychologist, not continuous beatings from a 6-foot-tall madman. Her whole life was filled with lies and beatings. This is why I'm asking you to come back with a verdict of not guilty. Thank you.
Thank you, counsel.